Hello and welcome to Elian'S Joy today. So glad to see you. Welcome, welcome. We're going to have a great show today and we're going to talk about things that are happening to us all the time. And we're going to have some solutions, and we're going to have some questions, and we're going to have some examples. I am very grateful to be with you. I am Elian', your host today on Win Win Women TV. And also, of course, you can find me on my website, on YouTube, and all those fun social media outlets. Today, we're talking about one of the topics that I see every day, that I feel every day, that I see around me, and that I help with every day with my patients and clients, and that is stress and anxiety, right? You can feel it, you know it when it's there, and you're just suffering the symptoms, and you feel it all over your body, and you think you're going cuckoo bananas. And we just have to kind of identify that first. So we're going to come up with a couple of things today that are points to see what's happening, and then go to my favorite topic of, is it life's fault or is it your reaction to it, right? Is it really life that comes at you all the time? Or is it your thinking and what you respond and what your reactions are? So maybe it is that. And maybe we can offer some solutions today, things that you can do all the time. And I talk about this a lot. So if you were watching my shows, you know that this is my one of my favorite topics. It shouldn't be my favorite. What? Stress and anxiety. But it is around us and we all suffer from it. And it is so much right now. It's so much that we're getting. And so I do talk about it a lot. I do give you physical solutions. I do help you with ideas about thinking or changing thinking sometimes, right? We need to approach things a little bit different sometimes. And sometimes we're really set in our thinking and we might step out of the box just to find some solutions for that stress and anxiety. It is something that comes at us the whole time, and it is something that I see all the time around me. And in my way of helping people, what I do is I try to help people in a natural way, trying to see and feel and acknowledge and admit and accept that we're going through this, and that you can do a whole lot of things about it without medication or pills. And that is for me so important because I look at the holistic approach of things. I look at how we can solve things without having to take medication. And of course, there are big things in life that we definitely have to take medication for. But also, one of my favorite arguments here is, what would you have done 200 years ago in your little house on the prairie when you didn't have all these solutions and all this medication handy? You couldn't go to the doctor, days away on your horse. And if you would get to the doctor and say, I have anxiety, then you and him both wouldn't know what that meant, because that word was not so much around as we have it now available, and everybody suffers from it. And it's kind of also a little bit a sign of the times, right? That we all just constantly feel anxious. It has been around also for ages, but we had a lot less information coming to us, and there was a lot more quiet, mindful way of living, in a sense of, we didn't have so much, so we could just sit and solve by being grateful, or sometimes sit and just be in the moment. So these moments of meditation, these moments of mindfulness, were actually available to all generations hundreds of years ago. But nowadays, we just go different about it, right? We go in a different way about it. We just go grab our computers and grab our phones and and start looking, which is understandable because I do it the whole day, and start looking for solutions that I'm offering you right now on your phone or on Zoom or on YouTube or wherever you are. But we forgot that we can just sit down and stare and leave all that behind for a little bit too as well. So this is a topic for another show because I talk about it a lot as well. But let's talk about today about these stressful things in life that are coming to us every day. It's not just the news. It's not just the overwhelming sense of um, stress information that comes at us by the news and by television and by reading about what's going on in the world. It's also our little things, our family, the things that really worry us, think that we are wanting to control about tomorrow, the things with our kids, the things with our loved ones, our family. We all go through so much grief and sorrow and pain, and sometimes just stuff from the past will keep coming up, and we just can't get rid of it, and we just don't know how to let that go. And sometimes there is no letting go. Sometimes we have to take it with us and process through us and just make it part of ourselves, even if it's pain and grief and really tough things. And then maybe if you can make that part of yourself, then maybe you can do something with it in that form of it being you, that you carry that with you. I do that a lot in my work by sometimes helping people through letting examples from my own life be, our guides, and say, well, this is what I did with it. And this is how I started to help others. Help you, maybe. I hope if I can help somebody, I am happy. And it comes right back at me, right? Because it gives me a good feeling, and it gives me that sense of peace and happiness that I could provide a little bit for somebody else. And then that person gave straight back to me. I always call that heal number 2, heal to heal, hashtag heal to heal. Because if I am healing because I healed you, then what is not better than that, right? I want to, coming to the topic of today, feel blessed by the things that we do every day, the things that are around us, and just things, happenings, people, events, circumstances even. I want to feel blessed or see the blessings through it and not feel stressed. So let's talk about some of those things that are definitely coming to us. Once you feel those symptoms, those physical symptoms of stress, try to identify those symptoms. And if we identify those physical symptoms of stress, those somatic symptoms, we can address them. Taking a deep breath. Sometimes talk about that box breathing, taking 4 deep breaths in, 4 counts. Holding it for 4 counts. And exhale for 4. And hold it and bottom out there for 4, right? And then you just take 4 deep breaths in again. In the beginning, that might make you a little dizzy. And sometimes if you're really feeling a lot of anxiety symptoms, then even more dizzy, right? Just like, a little lightheaded. So sometimes we just have to drink some water and try to do that again. Because that is just because you're really focused on that breathing right now. And you're doing that exercise for quite some time, as long as you can. Right? In the beginning, it's a little less, but it gets better and better. That you can practice that box breathing for yourself. And sometimes I gave you more, and other shows, I gave you a lot more breathing techniques that you can do. But the box breathing is the number one to call and to tone down, to call out and to tone down those somatic, those physical symptoms that you are starting to feel because your little noodles are stressed out. So if you can do that, breathe, acknowledge, identify, acknowledge, and accept those symptoms. Really feeling it in the fingertips and in your feet. Let's plant those feet down. Sit nice and straight up. So you definitely want to have that straight posture. And then just do that box breathing for a while for yourself. So that is the first thing that we can do for ourselves. Really know that, oh yes, I feel it. Oh yes, I can do something about it. Sitting down, calming down, and calming your body down, and calming your body down by breathing slow and controlled, right? So when you acknowledge and identify these physical symptoms of your stress, then let's calm down and then go to the second thing, right? The second thing is just acceptance. Acceptance that we feel stressed out, that the situation was not ideal, that our thinking is being run over by the what ifs and what ifs and what ifs, and we're just going kind of like monkey mind just because we acknowledge and accept that the situation is not good or ideal, or that we're going through it. And we can accept it. Then that's another moment of feeling and being mindful and feeling that mindfulness. So accept it, that it's not a good time right now. And so if you accept it, you can also make measures and have an outcome that is good for you. Because it doesn't help if you accept the situation of being really painful or stressful, but you are going on with doing everything else that you normally do from a really good place and a healthy place. So if you keep working so much and keep giving so much and keep going out there and keep trying to solve everybody else's situation as well, then you will deplete even more. But if you can accept that the situation is not ideal and that you're going through a difficult time, then you can also put a stop or a halt or even a pause on other things around you. And you can say, that is just not healthy for me right now. It's not good for me right now. And I have accepted that I am going through a little bit of a stressful anxiety time and that I feel really difficult about it. And so if I feel that it is not good for me right now, to do all that for you. So can I get back to you next week or maybe later and so forth and so forth. So then you can push and stop and pause a few things that are just not all having to be done right now. Just be good to yourself. That is really, really, really important. Then the third thing that I definitely want to point out in really difficult and stressful times, remember your strength. Remember your strength. And remember, look back of everything that you have accomplished. Look back at your accomplishments and remember the strength that you have and that you had in situations before. And if you can tap into that strength and see it and acknowledge the accomplishments of the things that you already done, the things that you have moved through, the things in the past that you have overcome, then you can use those strengths and tap into that. Is your strength maybe just going out and getting away from everything and regaining that energy and that feel of good will for yourself? Then that's what you need to do. Remember what you did. Maybe it was exercise, like for me, that's strength. For me, exercise is healing. So I always talk about that as well. It's so big, right? Maybe you just need to go outside and go walk, or maybe you need to go to the gym and feel that sense of physical strength and sometimes emotional, mental strength. Come back and tap into that, right? So you have to a little bit with that strength and with the things that you did before. Remember those, pick them back up and tap back into that. Remember your strength and the things that you have overcome. That is so important. If we don't look back and we let ourselves slide off, then we're just rolling down that hill before we know we're just down back into the ditch. But we can still climb up and still get out of there. And if we acknowledge it sooner of what you did before for that, then you can use that to pull yourself up sooner. And so for that reason, I always say, life doesn't get any easier, but you get better at it. So acknowledge those strengths. Acknowledge that of what you did before. Challenge yourself to do so, right? Challenge those feelings of, I can't, I won't, I will not, I won't be able to, I have not. Challenge those feelings. And look at the things around you that you can be grateful about. And start very little, with very little things, to do that daily. So if you start acknowledging very small stuff around you that you can do and that you have the strength for, accomplish that. Because that will add up at the end of the day to a lot of accomplishments that are small in your mind, but are actually the most important. So look at those things that you can do. You can still clean house, or you can still do dishes or fold laundry, or just kind of like twiddle around the house a little bit, right? I call that just kind of twiddle around, and do things like move a plant or put some flowers up or just redecorate a little bit. Put some colorful stuff around you so that makes you happy. Makes you happy, right? It makes you feel a little bit better. And if you do that, then at the end of the day, those are a lot of things that you have done for yourself that feel really good. Making your favorite meal, drinking your favorite tea, all those things will definitely help. And that is so big at the end of the day. That will give you that sense back of, here I am. I can do this. Let me go to another thing that we have a lot of times that will throw us off, and that is number 4, I think, that we're talking about today. Let's not take everything personal. I talk about that in my book, 60 Miles from Neiman's is the title of my book. I talk about that. Let's not take anything too personal. Well, if you are getting yelled at for an unknown reason, or if things are getting out of hand and people are just not nice to you, yes, of course, right? That doesn't feel good, and that makes you upset, and it causes stress and anxiety. But let's go back to where this all came from. I used to really digging into my storyline. I used to really do that a lot. I would take things personal. And people would just leave me, go somewhere else, leave my business, and have their take business up somewhere else, or just say things that they just, just didn't really say in a very correct way. And they wanted to make a point taken, but it didn't come out so nice. And I would take that really personal and want to crawl up in a little ball. Oh my gosh, people even would come sometimes to me and say, I remember one lady told me one day, you're always so overdressed for these occasions. Oh, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I didn't understand. In my mind, I wasn't really overdressed. I was just putting something fun on, just to go to an event. Excuse me. Why could I not just have something fun? It wasn't over the top at all. It was maybe colorful, maybe a dress instead of pants. Or maybe just, what was I wearing? Maybe just a shorts and a fun top. By all means. Why? Even say something like that. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it at all. Because she was hurting my feelings so bad. And I just had to understand that she was just not really in a happy place. I had to come to the understanding that it had nothing to do with me. I had to understand that some people just take it out on others while they're in a really, really, really bad spot. Maybe that day, maybe months, maybe forever. Maybe people are just not happy and just not knowing what to do. And if they're in that place already, but they're not coming to my show, they will not get out of it either. Right? That's why we do those things. That's why we put on those shows together. All these amazing women that are putting these shows on with me, just to help you get a little bit of a sense of peace, get into that happy feeling. And I picked up from Buddha himself, from Big Buddha himself. I picked up, Big Belly Buddha, I should say, that your happiness cannot depend on people or on things, events, vacations, top of the mountain kind of moments, because they can all be taken away from you. So if your happiness depends on people, places, events, circumstances, things, it can be taken away from you. Dogs, cats, kids. So if your happiness comes from a good feeling inside, something that you feel that cannot be broken, that has to do with your unlimited faith, with your unlimited belief, that things are always better after this too shall pass, right? After this will pass, that things will get better and things will be amazing, better than before. If you just have that unlimited, unfailing faith and belief, then you can get there. And then that happiness, that peaceful feeling is always in sight. Now, that's easy to say, Buddha, my friend. It's easy to say, but it is not always easy to practice, right? God will tell you the same thing, of course, right? If we have our faith, whatever your faith is, if we believe, then we know that everything is there for a reason, that everything happens for a reason. So we cannot always control our circumstances. We can control our thoughts about the outcome. We can control our thoughts about the outcome, already knowing that it's probably better, healthier, easier, more beautiful in the end. Whatever you have to go through. It's really tough. It's really tough. That belief is really tough. It's not always fair, and it's not always easy to understand. Now I'm thinking especially because of loss and death, and I'm not really sure what the meaning there is of ultimately it will be better, because that doesn't make sense to people that lose loved ones. But stronger, maybe. Easier to maneuver through life, maybe afterwards. I'm not sure. Sometimes I definitely don't have answers, believe me. Forgive me. But I do not know the answers to that. But I do have that faith. I do have that faith that there's power of prayer, right? That I have so much faith in, and that I believe in so much. There's power of people, collectiveness, reaching out, feeling, belonging, coming together, support that will get us through so much things. Sharing is caring. And that definitely we have to do that. So challenge that. I don't know where to put it exactly in place, but I know that we all go through those question marks and that we have had those question marks before. And that somehow maybe I feel stronger now. Yes, I do. Even if I didn't believe that 20 or 30 years ago, definitely. Another thing that I definitely want to point out today is that sometimes we resist change. Sometimes we resist change that is brought on by circumstances. Choices that we have to make that are not easy to make. And we have to change because that way we can get out of these situations. We can get rid of situations that are not healthy for us. We can get rid of people that are not productive in our life and that are not healthy even, that are causing so much stress and anxiety. Is it your relationship? Is it partners? Is it loved ones? Is it separation anxiety with your children, right? That kind of thing that I know definitely and that I've been through. Because letting go of children when they grow up, having that separation anxiety, that things that you can't control anymore. And then you really don't want to, but sometimes you want to. And then you're just into this fit of, and then the kids, the same thing. They want to get away. They want to leave their parents. They want to show you that they're mature and adult and grown up. And you know that they're not. Right? And you have to give them that freedom. I say, you gave them roots, you gave them wings, right? They got to fly. But there's always that little thing, oh my gosh, that I go through. So how can I help that? How can I be there for them? How can I help that with these things in life? And that's difficult. It's difficult. If they are adults, that's difficult to acknowledge and feel and deal with. Taking a deep breath and just know that it will be okay. They'll tell you. Your kids will tell you. It will be okay. Yes. So sometimes You might resist all that change, even going from a full house to empty nesters. And all that change sometimes is hard to accept, but we do it. And coming back to the point before that I made, we did it before. We did it. We went through change. And ultimately, we became better off it. So we have to go through it sometimes, even if we don't want to. And that means moving, and that means change of different people around you, change of environment, change of friends sometimes, because the group was not healthy for you. In my work, I say that a lot with people that are in a place of substance abuse, and they need to change their group of friends. They need to change. They need to hang out with other people because this was not good. This was not conducive to their health and to their well-being. So we have to do that. And remember that sometimes our thinking is not always accurate. So the fact that we don't want to accept change, the fact that we don't want to change anything and that it was good the way it was, maybe not. But maybe we have been taught all our life to think that way. And so we have a different perspective. We have a hard time thinking different because we were taught to think this way. And sometimes that is challenging to even change that, to even change our thinking. Maybe we are not accurate, on point with the topic anymore. Maybe we are old-fashioned in our beliefs, or maybe we have to change with the times. And I know that's hard to do. I know that it's very hard to do for a lot of us. But there is change, constant. There is constant change. And the world and earth has constantly changed. And so if we don't, sometimes, forget that word, if we don't grow with that evolving change, then that's gonna be painful. It's gonna hurt us in the end. It's gonna be difficult. So many things are gonna be difficult to accept. So that is definitely a point that I wanted to make. So think back at the things that we have said. Let's be in acceptance of what we feel, and let's identify the somatic feelings that came with our stress or anxiety. Let's identify this and let's feel those symptoms and let's say they're there. And so because of that, number two, let's accept that and say, I'm not going to do anything this whole week because I just can't handle it. I need to take care of myself first. Right? So that acceptance has consequences that are good and healthy for you. And then number three that we talked about, remember to challenge things and to say, hey, I used to be so strong about that. Look all the things that I have overcome and accomplished. Let's go back to little things that we can do for ourselves that will add on during the day to a lot of accomplishments at the end of the day so that you can feel and tap into that strength again. And then another point that we talked about today is let's not take anything personal. Because sometimes people are just different, going in different directions, things that have nothing to do with you. And sometimes they're not nice. They're not happy. Coming to that place of happiness was inside, remember? Had nothing to do with others. Don't let them determine where you are going with your life. Don't let anybody be in charge of your happiness but you. That was very important. Focus on the little things that you can control. Feel accomplished and feel that strength. And change your environment. Go through changes and accept them as growth so that you can handle things better. That was my point for today. I hope you enjoyed these talking points. We'll have lots more. And I hope that you will definitely give me questions and reactions and posts and comments. Leave it on my website or on my social media, www.elian'S.com. I am your life coach. I am your wellness coach. Reach out to me, www.elian'S.com. I will see you next week. And thanks for being here. today so much. Namaste. See you next week. Bye.